All right, guys, we're going to go over some of the biggest mistakes that you guys are probably making, and I know because I did, with ISO 8s. Let's get right into it. This is your public service announcement from RemanX saying don't do the following things. First things first, let's talk about the biggest barrier that you're going to hit as you move up the levels. The gold in this system is definitely going to be these ISOs. Your ions, you may seem like it's 150. This just cost me 35K to fuse. And if you guys look at if you want to switch to a class and move to the striker and move it up, it's going to take you 25,000. So if you make those mistakes, you're going to pay that price in the ion cost. Now, ions are the only thing you can currently buy every day with cores, and there should be no surprise that might be something that down the road you're going to want to do. Next biggest problem I see people making all day. If you're in your matrix, we're going to show you guys something that I think a couple of people have reported they've already done, and it's unfortunate because it's defaulting when you're upgrading these. It's defaulting to your highest, to fuse, even though I've got a 5 over there. So if you want to go through the lower ones, you're going to have to go and select them. Otherwise, if you have one you don't want to put it on, it'll go to your highest, and then it can cause you guys some problems. So if you're trying to put some of the lower ones on, see if I can show you guys on some of the lower ones here. Just make sure you're selecting, pause before you hit the fuse button, take a look and make sure you're fusing it, because that is a big deal. People are reporting losing some effort, and you guys are getting a lot of those 3 stars from this event, which is great. But if at the end of the day you're fusing stuff on characters you don't want, you need to take a moment and pause. So my recommendation is to absolutely go in and into the character, make sure you're selecting them and not hitting the equip button or fuse. Just making sure you're going through and selecting what you want to put on them. All right. Now that I've actually gone in there a few times, it's not default selecting into that. Another big problem that I think people are doing, and you got to stop this right now. And I'm sorry, I said to do it, but do not buy ISOs from this store. Do not spend the ions here. We were just talking about how this is going to become a scarce resource. Stop what you're doing. Unless you're a massive Kraken, you're going to run out of ions. You're probably already experiencing the ion crunch as you're moving up levels. Stop what you're doing at all costs. So the next thing that I think we probably see a ton on, a number of other mistakes that I think people make, is with Phoenix. And let's talk about Phoenix really quickly. One thing people don't take into consideration is Phoenix does not get benefit from the class. So only what you spend on the outside. Now, I did it because we were testing out the fact that if she had a class like Skirmisher and she did her stealth ability, because she's not actually targeting any class, there are some conversations to have depending on what you're using them for a war matchup. If she does stay in her Phoenix form for a little bit longer because you've got a bigger Phoenix or a bigger beast to keep her up. The problem with that is it just doesn't happen often enough and not reliable. If you want to level her up, remember, she can get the outside, so if you wanted to give her focus or give her damage, you could, but giving her any subclass is going to give her more health, and that can be problematic because the thing you want to have happen with Phoenix is for her to die. Again, something to take into consideration. I don't think it's that big of a deal if you guys have already done it. I just wouldn't recommend taking it past 1 or 2. I probably will, at the end of all my adventures here, probably take her up in damage to have her a little bit more potent in other abilities. Maybe they make some changes to how it works with clones and summons. But that's something that they haven't done yet. They were doing that in beta. Another, absolutely common mistake is I think you got to prioritize your teams. Now, I'm telling you this. Everybody asks me, should I go wide or should I go tall? And I'm saying there are a lot of things in here that are possibly in flux. We're finding a ton of bugs, a ton of interactions that we have some questions with. I would tell a lot of people to just put 1s on some of your common attack teams, maybe invest a little bit in your raid and your arena teams, but I wouldn't do much more than that. You may think it's an easy way to grow your roster, but the problem we have is there have definitely been some changes that have come down the road. Skirmisher actually added some very, very important text that we'd had no idea was interacting because they didn't make note of it until after they added it into the files. So it was actually working that way when ISO launched, but nobody told us. So it's something that you guys want to take in consideration when you're leveling these up, because sometimes, and that's the reason why we've always said about our little tier list over here. You guys take a look at the tier list. It's going to be in the description below. We're constantly updating that. We've actually added columns for level 1, 3, and 5 for those breakpoints. We've changed it so in case Fortifier does become a potential option, you have to take a look at the list to see. But right over here, level 5 gained 50% focus. If you started building up another class not knowing that that was a potential element of it, again, with the fact that a little bit of this is still kind of in flux, we don't know if the skirmisher and the striker interaction, that second hit coming from the striker as an ISO hit in that 3-tap combo, if that's something that's going to be around a while, and if you're building teams around that, it'll be a shame if they go back and fix this when they make these changes. So just be careful. My recommendation, the longer you save those resources, the more value they have. There's a lot of characters coming down the pike. There's a lot of options. And my recommendation is always upgrade a character when they stop doing what you need them to do. Let me wreck my roster for you guys. Let me do the things that I do with my roster so you guys don't have to make those mistakes. Remember, I make those mistakes so you guys don't have to. There is a lot of mistakes that are being made, and I think people are like, oh crap, I just put a level 3 on a character I'm not going to use. Well, that's a level 3 you're not going to get back, and we don't know how easily they're going to come by and how often they're going to run an ISO event like we have right now. So take a moment, pause, remember those recommendations. Stop spending ions. Number one thing you're going to learn from this, stop spending your ions. Use them sparingly. Number 2, just make sure you're selecting your ISO, your gems as you're in there. And finally, take your time, learn from each other, have fun with the system, but you don't have to bring them you don't have to bring all your tunes up all the way up right away. There are going to be some changes. Just be patient, ask questions, and I'm sure the right answers will make themselves apparent. Anyway, guys, love you guys very much. Again, this spreadsheet that we made is constantly in flux. We're trying to give it as a one-stop shop. Make sure you guys stop by the channel. You can stop by, visit me at Twitch. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. There's going to be a lot more ISO information coming down the pike. And we do testing live on stream every night, as well as go over some of the recommendations I have for your roster. I'll check you guys soon, and have an awesome day.